Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Thursday, the second day of November, year of our Lord 2017. Welcome to the John Moore Show. Prepper tip of the day. In case you've been away, it's wintertime, close to winter, official winter anyway, close enough that you should, if you don't have already, your merino wool socks, which I wear year-round, by the way, whether it's 110 or 10. I find merino wool socks to be the most comfortable socks my feet have ever worn. And I was just thinking the other day how I've got merino wool socks that have been going through a regular cycle of wearing them and washing them for 10 years, and they're still in excellent condition. They just last and last. You can find them on Amazon, eBay. I'm not sure if I got a name on my website or not, but Sportsman's Guide also sells some good quality ones. The less expensive ones last real long also. You might want to keep that in mind. We have a special treat today. We're going to have Steve Whitman with us. Steve has not been on this show for at least a year, possibly more. His story is moving, to say the least. It's phenomenal. And Tim Spencer is with us also to lend his support to telling this tale. And rather than go on any further on this road and steal any of Steve's thunder, good morning, Steve Whitman.
Good morning, John. And I have to echo your recommendation on the merino wool socks, because that's all we wear up north when we guide fishermen and hunters.
Now, they were doing that before my recommendation, right?
Yeah, we've been using them for quite a while, and you're right. They are fantastic, and they wear like iron. They
do, but they're comfortable. They're not comfortable. They don't feel like iron. In fact, I don't want to dwell on merino wool too much, but the fibers are longer than other wools, so for almost everybody, they're not scratchy. And Tim Spencer, you're with us also, sir?
Yes, I am. Good morning, gentlemen.
Okay. Well, don't be bashful, Tim. Anytime you want to comment or have Steve elaborate on a point, because Steve knows his story so thoroughly. Obviously, it's his story that he may fail to mention something in enough detail that people may not get it. Steve, I want to begin with your bio, your education, and the career you had for most of your adult life before you got your dream job.
Well, basically, I'm a professional civil engineer and a registered land surveyor. I was, and still am, in about 6 different states. I owned a civil engineering land surveying firm about 20 years, as well as I worked in the public sector as a public works director. After that, basically, then I went retired early and decided to buy a sporting lodge up north in northern Maine.
Okay, let's back up. A critical part of your story has to do with a hobby you had while you were a civil engineer, and that was the hobby of weightlifting. That's a critical part of the whole story, isn't it, sir?
Well, it is. Well, I was always active in high school and college. I played sports, and weightlifting was one of my passions. And, back in the early 90s, I was going on a snowmobile trip, and I was in a hurry, and I have a gym in my cellar. And I went down, and I didn't put my belt on. Big mistake. Got in the squat cage. Had about 350 pounds on my back. Went down, and lo and behold, that's when it happened. I hurt my back. And in fact, I hurt it so bad that I had to crawl into the truck to go on my snowmobile trip.
Right. Now, for those who don't know, weightlifters wear this leather belt. It's about, 6 inches wide or 8 inches? It's a really wide leather belt.
Yeah, we wear that for heavy lifts. And at that time, I was into some pretty serious weight. You know, I was about 40 years old, and, of course, I was still invincible at that time.
10 feet tall and bulletproof. Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Okay, well, you injured your back, and that caused you to discontinue the weightlifting at that point, didn't it?
Well, I did. In fact, what I had to do, I went to a lot of doctors. They put me on some painkillers and muscle relaxers, and I went to chiropractors, and And I ended up having to, because I loved to weight lift, I ended up having to adjust my routines, cut my weight down, avoid certain exercises. I mean, it was definitely a change in my life at that time.
Exactly. Oh, okay. Well, let's keep that part in mind as we move forward. So you've got your civil engineering company. You're working towards your dream of becoming a Maine guide. And you went through that whole process, which was a lot. You had to sell your company, go through the training. Tell us about the training to become a Maine guide, if you would, please.
To become a Maine guide, it is very, very extensive. You have to know essentially just about everything there is about the wilderness and survival, plus safety, first aid, river rescue. I can go on, map and compass.
Right.
And
which included, another part of that was you're learning how to treat for shock, wasn't it?
Well, that's part of it. I've had, previous to that, I was an Eagle Scout, and plus I had a lot of pre-EMT training and first aid and that sort of thing, but that really helped me, that really assisted me in getting my guide's license. But the guide's license, you have to take a written exam as well as an oral exam, okay? And you have to pass both in order to get your guide's license in your specific field, whether it's fishing, hunting, recreation. Then what you do once you get that license, then you can go for your master's, which I have, which I can do everything.
Right. Well, and there's a reason for this, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the state of Maine, and those areas up there, once you get off the roads, they're basically haven't changed since the white man first arrived, have they?
Right. I mean, we have some really big country up there, and if you're foolish enough to go into the woods without a map and compass during hunting season, well, you're going to be in there for a long time because you're not getting out.
Exactly. Okay, let's with that as a basis, you bought a rundown fish camp which you rehabilitated and restored to the condition you wanted, and so you're living your dream job. You've got your fish camp, and it was the summer of, was it the summer of 2014 or 15?
It was actually the summer of 2013.
13. Okay. Oh my! How time flies. So you had your summer, and you're there, and you're doing some work involving concrete blocks. The summer of 2013. Tell us about what happened.
Well, that happened in July. I was building a concrete drainage structure, and my brother was handing me some concrete blocks, and I reached out to grab one. Bad thing to do. I was in a hole and had to reach out beyond my body, which is a no-no. But I re-injured my back, something horribly. And it really forced me, this is really no kidding here. I actually had to crawl into my pickup truck to bring people on guide trips. That's how bad I was.
Right. Now, so you're suffering, and your brother told you what to do to possibly get relief?
Well, it was a friend of mine who watches your show. Okay. Yeah, a friend of mine that watches listens to your show as well. And I was talking to him one night, and I was just telling him that I was about ready to do myself, and I was just in so much pain. And he said, "Well, why don't you try the energy cleaner that's on John's show?" And I said, "Well, at this point, I'll try anything because." And so eventually, what I did buy it. Okay, and about a week later, I think, and lo and behold, it wasn't, 5, 6 days later that the pain was almost gone, and I was just totally amazed. And after 2 weeks, I was back to guiding, jumping in and out of the canoe, in and out of the pickup truck, chopping wood. I mean, it was like I was 20 years old again.
All right. And okay, now with that in mind, we'll fast forward to shutting down the fish camp, and your was it September or October?
It was October 1st.
Okay, October 1st.
The day I'll never forget.
I bet.
But
start the day out, and ladies and gentlemen, everything that happened that day, if it didn't happen precisely the way it did, we wouldn't be talking to Steve Whitman right now. Beginning with leaving your home and a cell phone. Begin at that point.
Yeah, that's something that I had to go out. We have a 1.5 miles of gravel road that comes into camp that we maintain. And we were closing up camp, my brother and I, so I decided to go out and patch some potholes and redig a drainage ditch. So I got in the backhoe and took off, and then for some unknown reason, I still don't know why, even today, I never take my cell phone with me because there's no reception out there. Plus, with the noise of the machine, you can't talk on it. You can't even hear it ring. But when I went by my camp, I said, I haven't talked to Lynn, who's my wife, for a while. And I said, geez, maybe I should take it. So I jumped off the machine, went in the camp, grabbed it, and took off down the road. And then I decided to, patch a road, like I said, and then there was a drainage ditch I had to redig. And so I was in the process of doing that when a guy who used to work for me, up to about a year before that, he became physically sick and he couldn't do the job anymore, so he basically quit. But he showed up on site, and he was watching me in his mother's car. And while I was digging the ditch, I watched him, and in fact, I got off the machine, and he drove down. He stopped the car. I walked up to it, and I said, the work never ends. And he looked at me, he kind of smiled at me, and he says, nice job. And he took off down the road. So I finished up with the shovel, and then I got back in the machine, okay, and did some more work. And then he kept going by me back and forth. And I was wondering, what the heck he was doing. And now that I look back on this, I mean, you talk about situation awareness.
Right.
It really means a lot more to me now. But anyway, so I got back off the machine, and he was still going by me a couple of times, stopping, turn around, watch me. So then I got onto the machine, and he went by me, and he stopped maybe 50 yards beyond me on the right-hand side. So I said, geez, I wonder what he's doing there now. And I said, well, maybe he wants to come back and have coffee with my brother and I, like we always used to do at 5 o'clock.
Right.
So I drove up to the car, and I was about maybe 10 feet from him, and right across from him. And I looked at my watch, and I says, it's 4:05. It's almost quitting time. And then I heard a tremendous bang, and I felt pain in my right hand. And I looked down, and my index finger was almost hanging off. And I said, my God, I said, what's going on? And I thought at first he threw an M80 into the cab.
Right.
Okay. And then a bang, another. And then I realized, okay, and what must have happened just before the second bang, I must have turned a little bit to the left because what happened, the shot of the bullet, in fact, I saw it out of the corner of my eye, he had a .45 in his hand.
Right.
And he was trying to kill me. That's what he was trying to do.
Exactly.
And the second bullet came in on the right side of my chest, went through my body, missed my heart by half an inch, and then buried in my left shoulder. Well, I knew at that time it was time to get out of there.
Right.
So I actually threw myself off the machine to the left to get away from him, and then another shot fired. And that's when he got me in the back, and it came out my right chest. And so when I hit the ground, I was a mess. I had blood, coming out of me in I don't know how many places. And so there I am.
Five places, front, back, twice, and the hand.
In the hand.
Right. Right.
And when I was sitting on the ground, trying to analyze, it's amazing when you have training or whatever, how automatic everything becomes.
Right.
I just started analyzing myself to see how bad I was. I even coughed and spit to see if I had any blood in my lungs. And of course, this is all happening in seconds. Okay? And so I couldn't move my left arm. I thought I broke that. Okay? But what it was, I had a bullet lodged in my shoulder.
Right.
So that's why I couldn't move it. And then I had an entrance and exit hole on my right chest. So I had to take my pinky and my index finger and squeeze them together for direct pressure to keep the blood from spurting out of my chest. And then the realization comes, where is he?
Right.
Okay? Is he coming around the machine to the other side to put another couple in me? So right away I looked to the back end of the machine, and then I went to look to the right, and then I heard another shot. Boom. And I says, oh, my God, what the hell? And then I must have jumped 2 feet off the ground when that fourth shot went off.
I bet.
Because I thought he had me again, you know. But then all I heard was just the machine running after that and nothing else. So I kind of, used my legs and propped myself up against the rear tire and pushed myself up so I could look over it. And lo and behold, he was still in the car, okay, sitting there, and he was kind of slouched, and he had smoke coming out of the top of his head.
Right.
So I knew he had killed himself right there.
Right.
Figuring that I was dead.
Exactly.
Okay. So now comes the problem, because there is no cell phone coverage in that spot. Okay. And so that meant there's only one way out of there, and that was getting back on the backhoe.
Right.
Well, getting on the backhoe, with 2 good arms, as it is hard enough.
Right.
But with no arms, just using your legs, it's almost impossible. But the first try, when I tried to get on the machine, I just fell backwards right down into the ditch. And I says, oh, boy. I says, if I don't get out of here now, I'm bleeding out. I got to get help. And so I just, you talk about determination, the will to live. And then I just basically threw myself up to my knees, got up, and just said, that's it, I'm getting on the machine. And I just pushed myself up. And, I've had 400 pounds on my back doing squats and everything, but, that day, my legs were pretty weak. Okay. And
Hold
so
that
anyway,
thought.
I got back.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
We got a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, everybody.
Okay.
Gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the first day of November. Steve, let's continue with your story. You're on the tractor, and you have a goal in mind driving this tractor with, you're steering with your elbow, as I recall, weren't you?
Yeah, since I didn't have any arms, I had to drive the machine with my left elbow. And it's a godsend that the machine was hydrostatic. So that meant, you just use a foot pedal to, give it throttle and it will move. There's no shifting involved.
Right.
And the machine was running because there's no way I could start the machine because I had no arms.
Right.
But the goal was, because I knew on this section of the road there was no cell phone coverage. So it meant driving the machine about a mile up the gravel road to the top of the hill, okay, what we call 3 corners.
Right.
Because at that point I figured I could have cell phone coverage. Well, going up there, talk about a fellow that was going from one side of the road to the other and hitting trees. Right. And I mean, and of course, all the thoughts that go through your head because, at that point in time, I had no idea if I was even going to make it.
Right.
Because I was bleeding pretty good. But one thing about the whole situation, too, I kind of forgot about telling him about this. When he was shooting at me on the machine, my back was in good shape at that point, okay? And I was able to leap off the machine, okay? If I was in the same condition, a month before that, as I was a month before that, there would have been no way I could have leaped out of the way. I would have been a sitting duck, and
right.
And he would have got me, God knows, with how many more, okay? But lo and behold, I'm thankful for that because my back was good, and I was able to move, and I mean move quick.
Right.
Okay.
So your strength and agility as a consequence of using the energy cleaner. So you're heading up this gravel road, kind of wobbling back and forth like a drunk, and you finally reach your goal.
Yeah, I finally reached the goal up to the top of the hill. Okay, and the cell phone was in my lap. Okay, and I had a speed dial, so I was able just to hit it quickly take my hand off my wounds and hit the speed dial. The call goes through, the woman answers, it says 911, what's the emergency? And I says, I've been shot. And then the phone call dropped. And I don't know if it was because of that, or it's just, I was bleeding out so badly. I knew shock was coming on, okay? The cold, clammy feeling,
right.
The cold sweats and the dizziness. I said to myself, if you pass out now, you're a dead man, okay? So that meant getting off the machine. So I stepped off the machine, fell flat on my face, okay, onto the gravel. And I crawled over to the drainage ditch, okay, and I was able to get my feet up and treat myself for shock.
Right.
Okay. And after maybe a minute or so, 2 minutes, my faculty started to come back, and then I started hitting the speed dial again. But make a long story short, it took me 5 tries, okay, to finally get the phone call to hold so I could get the troops on the way.
Amazing. And the next miracle?
Well, the next miracle, and it's really amazing that this happened. So I'm laying in the ditch, and of course, when you got 3 bullets in you, a lot of things go through your mind. And I was thinking about family, and you name it, I thought about it. And so I'm sitting, so I felt myself actually, I wouldn't say dying, but passing out again. And that's when I said, that's it. And I sat up, okay, and said to myself, I am going to live, okay? There is no way I'm going to go out this way, all right? So I sat there for about 5 minutes, still waiting, and then all of a sudden I heard a truck coming down the road. And believe it or not, it was 4 bear hunters. And they got out of the truck, and of course they wanted to know what the hell was going on when they saw me, full of blood and everything. I said, the guy shot me and whatever, and right away they went to their truck, got their guns out, started loading up, because they wanted to know where the guy was.
Right, right.
And so they surrounded me, and they told me, and they said, don't worry, bud, that guy will never get up that hill, okay? And that kind of really helped me, okay?
Right.
That security. But the main thing is, they had a stack of paper towels in the truck. And so they quickly started plugging holes in me. And one thing they kind of told me, and they said, hey, buddy, you got a hole in your back, too?
Right.
I said, I do? And, I had forgotten all about it.
Right.
And he says, you're bleeding pretty bad, too. And I said, I am? He says, oh, yeah. And so I could feel him when he went back and started patting it. It was just like, how a wet sponge goes up against.
Right. Squish, squish. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so they got you patched up, paper towels stuck in the holes, and how long did the ambulance take to get there?
Well, and I write about this in the book because there were other problems that were going on. They couldn't get through. They didn't want to go by the card with the guy in it. It was a woman state trooper. She wasn't, confident or whatever. So, make a long story short, it took an hour for the ambulance to get there.
Good God, yeah. So they load you up in the gurney. They get you to the first hospital. That entire saga took from time the phone call to the arrival, 2 hours?
Yeah, about 2 hours.
Okay. We're going to come back after the break, and we'll continue the story. Stay tuned, everybody.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 1st of November. This is a special day, a special show. We normally have Tom Barry. He'll give us our disclaimer starting out here. And Tom, if you're listening, you're welcome to call in, but we need to get through Steve's story here in the limited minutes that we have. So you're finally loaded up, and they transport you to the first hospital. And tell us what happened there, Steve.
Well, at the first hospital, they couldn't really do that much for me. I had a slug in me, plus all the wounds, and a friend of mine was actually my mentor who got me into guiding. I've known him for about 40 years. He drove about 100 miles an hour to the hospital, and he got to the emergency room. He was in there with me, and, of course, it's very nice to have somebody there with you when you're going through something like this. And he actually fed me ice chips while they examined me and tried to patch me up. He said when they lifted me off the gurney onto the bed in the emergency room, I left a pool of blood on the gurney that was, he said, about 2 feet in diameter.
Right.
So he didn't even know at that time if I was going to live. Right. But make a long story short, they did some tests on me and so forth, and they had to ship me to another hospital about 2 hours away by ambulance.
Right. And as you were leaving that first hospital, what was the situation for leaving the premises?
Well, when they were loading, actually before they actually got me into the ambulance, everybody came into the emergency room, all the doctors. There were like 3 doctors that had worked on me, about 4, 5, 6 nurses. And they all stood there, and one of the doctors stepped forward, and he said, I've been elected to speak for the group. And I kind of looked at him and said, yeah, and he says, we all want to give you some money. And I said, money? What do you want to give me money for? And he says, we all want you to buy us a lottery ticket. He says, because that's how close. You're actually a walking miracle.
Right,
okay?
Right.
Because one of the bullets
that led to the title of your book, didn't it?
Exactly, and it gave me the idea for the title of the book, Winning Life's Lottery. But one of the bullets came through me across my chest, actually missed my heart by half an inch. And they said that it was just incredible. It was a godsend that it was hardball ammunition and not hollow points.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So you got another 2-hour transport. Now, that first hospital, they really did save your life. They stopped the bleeding, stabilized you. They probably got you hooked up with some, lactated ringers or something to get your blood, help with the blood situation.
Yeah, they did that. And,
okay.
And then got me in the ambulance so I could get down there and, because it's a 2-hour ride down to the other hospital.
Right. And were you offered pain meds at that first hospital?
I never had any pain meds through all this. None.
Okay. All right. That's another aspect of this. Okay, 2-hour ambulance ride. It was a hot ride, the ambulance and lights and sirens?
Yeah, it was. And, of course, the roads up North in Maine not that smooth. Okay, so it was pretty bumpy. It was my first time in an ambulance, and I was amazed how rough they ride, actually.
Well, they're a truck.
Bad.
They're a truck, yeah. And Tim knows firsthand.
I think Tim knows all about that.
Yeah, unfortunately he does. He does. 2-hour ride, hot ride with the lights and siren. You arrive there. What happens there, sir?
Well, they brought me into the emergency room, and my wife was in Massachusetts. They had state police had called her, and she came up to meet me at that hospital. In fact, when I got there by ambulance, she was just pulling in her cell, and she went in with me into the emergency room, and that's when the doctor, came in and said, "Hey, you got a bullet in you. We have to take that out." And lo and behold, he started with the scalpels and the hemostats and whatever, and cut my arm and went inside to try and pull the bullet out. And I guess he forgot the lidocaine and everything because it was just like gun smoke.
Oh yeah.
When Doc Adams pulls bullets out of Matt Dillon, But anyway, they got that finally out after 20 minutes, and my wife passed out in the room. All this is in the book. It's kind of we don't have a lot of time here, but
I know.
Anyway.
Well, that book is a consequence. I initially encouraged you to write for Tim Spencer's website your story, which you did, and that segued into writing your first book, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did. And since then I've been writing several more. But anyway, once they got the bullet out of me and the state police interviewed me again, they wanted the bullet naturally. They wanted all my clothes. Up to the room I went, but at that time my hand was still wrapped. Okay.
Right. That wasn't a priority. They just want to stop the bleeding on the hand and deal with the torso.
Right. But it wasn't till 24 hours later that finally the hand surgeon came and she unwrapped my hand. And of course I had been working on the backhoe all day. The day before, my hands are all grease, and she unbandaged it and she said, "Oh my God." She said, "Nobody cleaned this?" I said, "No." And my finger, my index finger that was shot off almost, was about the size of a big kibasi. Okay? I mean, it was like twice the normal size, and it was all black. All black. But, in fact, I told her right there, and then when I took one look at that, I said, "That's no good." I said, "You might as well take that off. That's useless." And she says, I think I can do something with that.
Right.
I said, "Well, okay." And so she went around. She operated on me right in my room. We never even went to the operating room. Yep.
You didn't take it to the OR. Amazing.
No OR, nothing. Right in the operating room, and she did it right there, and took the pieces of bone out with the ligaments and pieces of the ligament and nerves or whatever, and lined the bones again, and stitched me up. And she says, "I think it might come back."
Right.
And, it did, and I have it today, and it still works.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And once again, to refresh people's memory, you did not accept any pain meds during this whole process.
No, I never did. And it's amazing. You talk about what's going on in this country with pain meds now. Before I was discharged finally from the hospital, the doctor came in to see me, and he said, "Well, it looks like we can send you home." I should have stayed another day, but I wanted to get home. But and he says, "I'm going to write you a prescription for some OxyContin." And I said, "I don't need it." He says, "Oh, yes, you do." And I told him, I said, I haven't had a damn thing since I got shot." Okay.
Right.
He says, "No." He says, "You're going to take this." I said, "Well, I don't want it." And he says, and then he kind of leaned into me. He says, "You want to get out of here, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Then you'll take this prescription."
Right.
So he wrote it, and when he left the room, I crumpled it up and threw it in the wastebasket.
Right. Good for you. All right. So you go home and you're back on the energy cleaner once you arrive at your home. And what was your next interaction with the doctor?
Well, about a week later, I had to go back. And when I got home, initially, when I went in the bathroom and took my shirt off, it was like somebody beat me with a baseball bat. I had black and blue, purple, every color imaginable over my chest, stomach. It's amazing what bullets will do to you.
Extreme trauma. Yep.
Extreme trauma. And so, anyway, a week later, I went back to for a checkup with the hand doctor, and of course, she asked me, "Do you mind if I, look at your body as well, your wounds?" I said, "No, that's fine." So she took off my shirt and she stepped back and she went, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" And I said, "That makes you nervous, when a doctor tells you."
Of course.
So I said, what are you talking about? She says, "Your wounds." She says, "Your body, almost all the discoloration is gone. What happened?" I says, "Why?" And she says, "I've never seen anything like this. Wait a minute, hold on." And she leaves the room and she goes and gets about 3 or 4 more nurses.
She wants witnesses. Yeah. Right.
Yep. And she brought him in and she says, "Look at this guy." And she started explaining to him what she had observed that night when I was laying in the bed while she was working on my hand. She says, "Look at this. This doesn't happen." And so anyway, she, said, "Well, how come? Why?" And I says, "Geez, I use this thing called the energy cleaner to, as far as it's helped me before, and maybe that's done it." And she says, "Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it."
Amazing. Now there's a big bonus, and your wife, she was she an aerobics instructor, some similar type occupation?
Yeah, she worked for the post office, but she worked 5-6 days a week teaching aerobics classes at night.
Right. And that was her passion. She loved doing that. But she had to discontinue that for what reason?
She came down with lupus.
Right. And tell us about lupus. And there's a medication. And what happens if you take it, and what happens if you don't take it?
Well, if you don't take the medication, you'll die from the disease eventually.
Right.
If you take the medication, there's a good chance you could go blind on it.
Well, okay. What a special deal that is. So, as a consequence, this is an unintended consequence. You got the energy cleaner signal on your bed. And what happened with your wife and her lupus?
Well, amazingly, about 6 months later, because naturally the energy cleaner's on her bed, so she's laying on it too. She went to the doctor for her, yearly checkup, and she has her blood work done and that sort of thing. In fact, I think she was having it done every 6 months at that time,
right?
Monitoring her, blood levels and whatever. And the doctor came back and said, "We don't see any lupus." And she said, "What do you mean you don't see any?" She says, "We don't see any. Something's, what's going on?" And so, anyway, push came to shove. We started putting everything together, and we discovered that her being on the energy cleaner, it must have, because she never changed anything else.
Right. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And
you look at what's the same and look at what's different. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And today, 3 years later, she is still lupus free. She hasn't taken any of the medication. She's off the drugs, and just an amazing whole part of this.
Right. And what's her activity level now?
Oh, she works for up there at the camp, doing cooking, and she's back doing aerobics.
Back doing what she loves. She got her life back, just like Tim Spencer did. In other words.
Exactly. So it was a real bonus. For on top of what I went through.
Well, it's an amazing story, ladies and gentlemen. Steve's first book, Winning Life's Lottery. You really need to get that book. There's other books that you've written, but tell us about the new book that's about to be published there, Steve.
Yeah, it's called Shaker Madison, Conspiracy to Murder. And it's a detective story, along with his canine partner, who's half wolf and half shepherd. It's the second book in the Shaker Madison series.
All
and
right.
it takes place during the Kennedy assassination.
All right. And how would people get a copy of this book?
All my books are on Amazon.
Okay.
And they're both in paperback as well as Kindle.
And it just occurred to me, I don't have your books listed on my website with Amazon. Tim, let's do that today.
I can take care of that.
Let's get all of Steve's books
When I get
listed
back to the doctors today, I'll take care of it, buddy.
Yeah, let's do that. I was very humbled to read your book and see you're giving me personal credit and the energy cleaner for saving your life, Steve. It was very humbling, and it's very satisfying to know that doing a radio show is actually saving people's lives. It doesn't get any better than that, sir.
Well, it doesn't, and it's a God's truth too. Because I can tell you one thing, John. If my back wasn't good that day, all right, there was no way I would have survived. No way. Because I was only 10 feet from the man, okay? And
that's basically point blank. That's 10 feet's
right.
Point blank, yeah.
Right. And if I couldn't have moved as fast as I did, there's no question that he would have definitely killed me. Right.
There's also no question that untold numbers of men and women have died from one shot from a .45 caliber pistol in the torso. You had two shots. Sure. In the torso, and that's it's miracle on top of miracle on top of miracle. Everything that happened in terms of your survival had to happen in the exact way it did, and it was not optional. Nothing that happened. Getting your cell phone was not optional. Knowing how to treat yourself for shock was not optional. Having the strength and agility to jump off that tractor was not optional. The bear hunters had to show up. What's the odds of those bear hunters showing up on that day, at that time, at that place? I mean, and of course the energy cleaner played a role at every step of the way. Now, your new book is supposed to be published when, sir?
It should be out in about 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, I want to once it's out and available on Amazon, or unless they can pre-order, can people pre-order it?
I don't think so. I think
okay.
It has to be out. Okay.
Well, once it's listed on there for sale, we'll get you back on here, Steve. And of course, I need to read it first, so I don't want to sound like an idiot trying to talk about something I haven't read. And I'm making an exception for you, sir, because I typically don't read detective novels, because for me it's too much like being at work. But
well,
why would you read a book? Why would you read a book about being at work? But go ahead.
Well, the dog in it. Actually, the dog is based upon 2 German Shepherds that I owned for about 25 years, and okay. His antics and his abilities and whatever. And Barrett, who's the dog, is quite the detective, as you might imagine.
Okay.
And he helps Shaker solve the case. And this is the second case that they're on. The first book being Shaker Madison is the first book, but this one is the second that I've done.
Well, when you're ready to write the next one and you need some guidance or pointers on investigative work, you just pick up the phone, Steve.
Okay, I will. I'll hold you to that.
I don't mind at all. I can be a consultant. I do want credit in the credits, but yeah, I don't mind at all. Tim, any follow up on your answer?
Yeah, I just had one question, Steve. And I don't remember if I read this in the book or you told me. Or at least I think you told me. Didn't you say that one of your wounds healed up too quick so it couldn't drain?
Yes, that did happen. I was staying at my sister-in-law's house overnight on my way up to Maine from Massachusetts to see the doctor. And when I was sitting on her couch that morning, one of the wounds burst because it had healed too quick and it couldn't drain, because they don't sew bullet holes up. They leave them open.
No.
Yeah, so they can drain. And what had happened was that it healed too quick, and I had a lot of pus and bodily fluid that had built up.
Right.
And all of a sudden I just felt the whole side of my shirt when I was sitting on the couch. It was drenched. Okay.
Right.
Because it had actually burst and all that poison came out of me.
Oh, wow. And I guess that was probably the only drawback to your using the energy cleaner to heal up, wasn't it?
Right. I mean, it's actually healed me too fast, if you want to, believe that.
Right.
But
well, that's if there's. I mean, how can you comment on that? Oh, Doc, I healed up too fast. But
right, exactly.
it is what it is. Yeah, I know. Amazing story. A truly amazing story. You no longer do follow-up visits to the doctor, or do you, Steve?
No, I'm on my own, and it's amazing. Like my finger, I've been to the range and everything, so my trigger finger still works. It's deformed a little bit, and it's numb because I lost a feeling in it on one side because the nerves were damaged. But at least it works.
I was going to say a small price to have the use of that finger. Yeah.
Exactly.
Really?
And of course, this is one thing I never thought of or was never aware of, but with all the internal scar tissue that I have, that is still a problem because even though you try and rub it out and work it out of your body, that does press up against nerves and everything else, and it does cause problems. That's something I was not aware of, but I am now.
Right.
Because it's something I have to deal with every day.
Well, I wanted to get you back on here, Steve. Since I went to Prague, Czech Republic, I've got a whole lot of new listeners all over the planet, and they never heard your story before. And it's in fact, you mentioned Tim Spencer being a miracle man the other day to me on the telephone, and I said, well, Steve, you're a miracle man also, in case you don't know it. Is that pretty much what I said to you?
Yes, it is. It is. It's like you said, there were a lot of things that went right for me, and like I said, I know somebody was there with me that day because
your angels were when your angel told you to stop and get that cell phone. That's literally saved your life, along with everything else that had happened that day.
Yes, it did. I mean, it's something I never did, John. Never ever took my cell phone.
Well, why would you take a cell phone you couldn't use?
Exactly. Exactly. And but that day, the first day in at that time 12 years running the camps.
Right.
That first time I ever got the inkling to take it. And
I didn't know it was that dramatic a change. First time in 12 years you picked up the cell phone and walked out the door with it. Exactly. And you had to make a special trip. You had to stop the backhoe, get off, go back into the cabin, come back out. So it wasn't like you were walking out the door and inadvertently picked it up. You had to make a special stop for it, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I was on the machine going by the camp, and I had to stop the machine, put the bucket down like you always have to do, and get off the machine and go inside and get it and hop back on the machine. I mean, it was definitely not just picking it up on the way out. So
now, Steve, some of your customers you've had there at the fish camp, they've contacted me to get energy cleaners once you told them your story, and it's a powerful story. It's incredibly powerful, and the bonus of your wife no longer having lupus and back to her passion of doing the aerobics is just icing on the cake, isn't it, sir?
Well, it is. I mean, it's lupus is a very, very deadly disease, and it's still deadly. If it's not treated, and unfortunately, the treatment sometimes, is not very good, and the medicine or the pills that you go on, because actually some of the pills they use to treat malaria with the same medication, and but they have to go into a high concentration, and what it does, eventually your eyesight will go, and some people actually go blind. So
scary stuff. Scary stuff. Steve, we're down to the last 2 minutes here. Tim, you've been patiently listening. You've had a couple of comments. You had your life saved with the energy cleaner and got back to
absolutely.
Climbing radio towers, riding horses where you couldn't even go down a flight of steps without extreme pain and some help. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the energy cleaner. No apologies. I sell energy cleaners, and I help save lives. Details are at my website. Steve, what would you say to the energy cleaner procrastinators that are out there?
Well, I procrastinated, and thank God I stopped. Okay, and I got one, and actually I use it today. I use it every day actually, and it's helped me in the gym. It's helped me in my everyday life. Okay, if I was recuperating between workouts and whatever, it's really an amazing device. And if you're procrastinating, stop it. Just get one, and you'll be thankful you did.
Absolutely. Get yourself an energy cleanser, a mattress pad to go with it. And, gentlemen, I've been talking to Diane Zerger and giving her some coaching, and I'll be talking to her again next week, and we're making some progress with Diane's situation. She'll be sharing it publicly soon here. Any final comment, Tim, before we let Steve go here?
No. Other than good luck, Steve, and keep writing, my friend. Keep writing.
Well, you need to have Steve on your show.
You too.
Yeah.
I will. I'll get a hold of Steve. We'll talk and come up with a date.
Yeah, and talk about Steve's new book. That'd be great. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. We'll be talking privately soon, and look forward to reading your new book, Steve.
Okay, thanks for having me, John.
Okay. Tim, thank you. We'll be talking privately also.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what a story, ladies and gentlemen. What a story. It is breathtaking. I have a fairly good vocabulary, but it's breathtaking to be aware of this story and hear this story and the wonderful outcome that it had. Oh, yes. We need to have Steve on, about maybe twice a year to tell that. We got a top of the hour break. We hope to be back with Don Kubley. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Thursday, the second day of November. Prepper tip of the day. Here it is. Winter is nearby. It'll be the first day of winter here fairly soon. It's already cold in many parts of the area, especially the higher elevations. Time to get your merino wool socks. If you don't have merino wool socks, I encourage you to get them. I've been using them exclusively for my outdoor wear for, I guess about 14, 15 years. I wear them whether it's 110 degrees or 10 degrees. It doesn't matter. I wear my merino wool socks. I think if you start wearing them, you'll get a lot of comfort and long use out of them yourself. So that's your prepper tip of the day, to get yourself some merino wool socks. We have patient waiting in the green room, my friend Don Kubley. Don is the CEO of Intershelter Domes, a unique product. And when I say unique, there's nobody else on the planet doing what Don's doing. Nobody else on the planet taking orders from governments and militaries to provide this unique shelter that is cost effective, requires no outside maintenance. The outside shell can be put together by 2 people with simple hand tools for this 14-foot, 3 people with simple hand tools for the 20-footer. And we're going to talk about all the wonderful applications and things you can do with these domes. Good morning, Don. Hello, Don. We lost Don. He'll probably call back. Some glitch between here and Canada in the frozen Northland. Don, are you there?
You bet, John. I'm sorry I put my phone in my cradle and the bloody thing hung up on you. Sorry about that.
Well, they will do that. Well, Don, we talk every week about your unique product that is being manufactured. Tell us about your manufacturing facilities. How many different locations in countries do you have now and proposed?
We have a facility in Oregon, near Portland. We have one in Central California. We have one in Orlando, and one in Valdosta that can fire up at the flip of a switch. And I've got one in India, just northeast of Delhi. And we are considering one somewhere in South Asia. I'm not quite sure where. I'd like to have one in in Micronesia or the Philippines, considering the number of typhoons they get over there and their living conditions. And we might eventually have one in Bangladesh also. It's a miracle. I put this deal together. Our first production capability is all going to be going to those Rohingya refugees coming out of Myanmar, but it's only because I was able to establish a good relationship with the Prime Minister's right hand. The Bangladeshis don't like the Indians, and they don't do business with them. Right. So we're jumping through some hoops to make them look less like they came from India, if I guess is the most politically correct way to say it.
I'll put my vote in for the Philippines. I spent a week in Manila a few years ago, and English is the dominant language. I went into a shopping mall there. I couldn't tell the difference between there and St. Louis, quite frankly. Educated people who speak great English. The government is very business friendly, and so you get my vote for the Philippines, if that means anything. But
no, I agree. I agree. As long as you're not a drug dealer, it's a good place to be. I don't know if you watch what that guy's doing over there, but he means business. He's like the Saudis. I don't know if you've been to Saudi Arabia lately, but when you come across the bridge from Bahrain into Saudi Arabia, when you come up to the border station, there's a huge sign on the wall, and it says, "We behead drug dealers."
Right. Well, there's some. When it comes to some kinds of human behavior, extreme measures, one of my pet peeves is people consuming alcohol and operating motor vehicles on the public roads. I don't advocate beheading, but the first penalty the first time should be so severe, like it is in Europe, that people don't even do it. We hear about. Our discussions go in all different directions, but the opioid epidemic, well, it's a problem, and there are a lot of people dying. But when you spend your life and doing the things I've done, you know that the alcohol problem, that alcohol kills more people, causes more human misery than all the other drugs combined. Nothing else even comes remotely close to the human misery caused by the consumption of alcohol. Which, of course, is a legal product that people can legally purchase and consume, which that's fine. They should do that as long as they don't operate motor vehicles on the public roads. And that's a pet peeve. And we had one law firm I worked with. A woman walked in the door. Her previous lawyer had fired her as a client because she had 18 DWIs. And
what was she doing? What was she doing on the street?
Well, this is before they had the penalties we do now. Now in Missouri, now the third conviction is now a felony, and you do jail time. Right. But back then, we're talking the early 1980s, more than 30 years ago. Clever lawyers and loose laws could allow you to keep engaged in an activity until you killed yourself or somebody else. But the alcohol industry, the alcohol lobby, actively lobbies against more stringent laws involving consumption of alcohol and driving motor vehicles.
Of course.
Of course they do. Of course they do. But that's a pet peeve of mine, for whatever it's worth.
I'll tell you a pet peeve of mine.
Yes, sir.
Is this idiot driving down a bike path in New York City, screaming Allah Akbar? The president is saying, I'm going to send this guy to Gitmo. I think they should take him out. This happened in New York City, just a stone's throw from the Twin Towers. Take him over to Times Square and execute him. Right in Times Square, just tie him up to a stake and execute the savage.
Well,
and people will think
No.
And take every one of his family. He's got 20 family members here he's brought in since he's been here. Right. Take all 20 of his family members and drop them into the heart of Syria and say good luck.
Right. Well, you're thinking like a Christian American, Don. So I'm going to correct your thinking here, sir.
Well,
you're giving the perpetrator what he seeks, which is to instantly be in. Now, when he knows in his heart that the very moment his heart stops beating in this life, he's instantly with Allah and 72 9-year-old girls that have large pointed breasts that never defecate, never urinate, can't get pregnant, and become a virgin after having sex every time forever. Now, he knows that in his heart.
I say let's give them to him.
Well, that's not punishment. Punishment would be living in a jail here in central Missouri surrounded by Christians.
That's true.
That would be punishment. That would be punishment.
And put him in the general population screaming Allah Akbar. Let's see how long that lasts.
Exactly. Now, that would be punishment.
No, that's true.
And a young man, he's 29 years old, assuming he wasn't murdered by the Christian prisoners the first day, he would have many decades of punishment as opposed to what he looks forward to. This is a problem we had in the South Pacific in World War II. The Japanese soldiers looked forward to giving their life for the emperor, blood for the emperor.
Yep.
And that's a very formidable enemy. To go up against men who are not only afraid to die, who have no fear of death, but they look forward to death because of the reward and the belief system they have.
Yeah, of the 200,000 Japanese soldiers they had on Iwo Jima, I think they took 200 alive,
right.
Or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
Well, but I started on another path to follow up. The liberals made a predictable statements that they want to see more stringent guidelines on renting motor vehicles now. That's their answer. Which is obviously
we should outlaw trucks now. I mean, it's just like when every time one of these idiots gets a hold of a rifle, they start talking about taking our guns away. Well, what are we going to do now? Outlaw trucks and maybe kitchen knives? Because usually that's what they do. After they run over as many as they can, they jump out with a knife and start stabbing people. So I guess we're going to have to outlaw guns and or trucks and knives now. I mean, the mindset of these liberals is just mind-boggling.
Well,
it really is.
I'm gonna give you a homework assignment here, Don. You want to write this down?
Go, Professor.
It'll be a Google search. It's relatively quick. Google images and perfect man billboard. That's the 3 words. Perfect man billboard. And you'll see images of the billboard which does not mention Islam, which does not mention Muhammad. Not at all. And I love it when somebody is so clever to come up with something like this. The Muslims are outraged. They're at their wits' end and absolutely outraged at this billboard, which does not mention Islam, does not mention Muslims, does not mention Muhammad. So, and everybody else. Have you seen it yet?
I'm looking at it. I'm going to put it up on the road up above my house here.
Yeah, and I mean, as a youngster, I was in psychological warfare. This is about as close to perfect psychological warfare as there is.
Have you seen it live, or have you just seen the picture?
I've just seen the pictures. I would love to see it in person, but I've just seen the photographs. Right?
It's awesome.
It is awesome. It's awesome. But getting back to why you and I talk every Thursday, we talk about inter-shelter domes. Now, these and one of the things that amazes people is how thin the fiberglass is, and it's as thick as it needs to be to support being covered with concrete or rock and dirt, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's probably not a building in your community that'll take a 30 or 40 foot snow load, and with an 1/8 of an inch thick fiberglass composite, because of the shape of the design of the architectural brilliance of this design. Once it's up, it's virtually indestructible.
Right.
I mean,
well, it's nature's perfect shape. Anybody can do this themselves. The egg is also nature's perfect shape, and I've done this. If you take a raw, uncooked egg and put it in your hand, and you place equal pressure on all sides at the same time, you can't crack that egg. I don't care how strong you are. You can't.
I've tried it.
Yeah, and the same thing applies to this dome. So the strength comes from two things. First, fiberglass is a very strong material to begin with. Second, it's the shape. It's nature's perfect shape. Now, anybody who's been a homeowner for more than a year, almost all homes, almost all the time, require outside maintenance, don't they, Don?
I just painted mine this summer. It was just a major pain, especially since we only had 5 days it didn't rain all summer here in Juneau.
Yeah. And now you got sideways rain at, 38 degrees?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Well, I got
wonderful.
Partly overcast and 74 here today. So
I'm neener. I'm out of my mind. It's my problem is I was born here, and I just think everybody lives in darkness and ice cold 6 months of the year.
When the warm wind is rushing past my face on my motorcycle today, I'll be thinking about you, Don.
Oh, would you please? I'd really appreciate that. The guy that runs my 14-foot factory down in California, he lives right there in the central Southern Valley, and it's 85 there today every day, and he'll call and he just loves rubbing my nose in it. He'll go, oh geez, it's really cold here today. I had to put on my earmuffs. It's only going to be 82. Right. And he just does it every single bloody day, and he just never gets tired of it. It's just, I just want to choke him.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Well, that's good-natured humor, which helps life go a lot smoother. You're with all these storms, you've had an unexpected influx of waters, haven't you, sir?
I have a teleconference today at 10:30 with the third contractor working with FEMA, and they're going to want another 40,000. And so it's going to be another one of those conversations. How fast? How many? But it's for the Caribbean and for Puerto Rico. And I just wish I had 1 million of these things on a damn shelf, and when the phone rings, I could just say, "Bring your C5A in and let's go."
Right.
I have to ramp up.
It takes a while to build up inventory. I was at a meeting yesterday with our county sheriff and our director of emergency preparedness, and I found out something about my area I was not aware of. Most people, including myself, were aware of the New Madrid seismic zone, which is one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous on the planet, just east of me. But there's been a recently found fault line. It's not a new fault line, but they recently discovered it just south of me here, running through our county all the way to Springfield, Missouri, which is about 120 miles west of here. And it has legs branching off about every 5 miles or so. So, and both these faults, seismic zones, are becoming increasingly more active with ever more frequent and ever more severe earthquakes. Both the New Madrid and this other seismic zone that's just south of me here.
That New Madrid is a serious fault, and most people think that they're totally safe there in the heartland. If that one lets go, it's going to be really, really. We might just have two continents. That's a serious fault line. And what do you remember the name of this new one you heard about?
I didn't get the name. I was busy making notes, and I'm not sure the name was mentioned yesterday, but I'll be getting that before the day's over. It's a very serious matter. A 7 or 8 point earthquake could just ruin your whole day, can't it, Don?
Yeah, especially if you're near a beach. My parents, the largest earthquake in recorded history was the Good Friday quake in Anchorage in 1964. It happened on Good Friday, and my parents, the worst hit area besides downtown Anchorage was a place called Turnagain Arm. It was a neighborhood, a community of fairly nice residential houses. My parents lived about 3 blocks from the beach. After the earthquake, they had beachfront property.
Yeah, literally. That's amazing.
Literally.
We have a break. Call numbers 800-313-9443. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 2nd of November, visiting with Don Kubley, the CEO of Inter-Shelter Domes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to my website, go ahead.
Excuse me, John, is that the Marine Corps band playing way down south in Dixie? I've never heard a version that tight and that good. I mean, that's an outstanding.
A friend of mine who's a flautist, he admires that version also. And I don't have in front of me who did this version. I was doing a search because I wanted to get a good version of Dixie, and it is exceptional and very well done. And I don't know who.
Well, you can just see the guys trotting down the street on their horses, high stepping it. You know. I mean,
yeah.
It's really a beautiful song.
It is.
Excuse
a beautiful
me, I didn't
song.
mean to interrupt you.
Well, no sweat, GI. If you go to my website, ladies and gentlemen, scroll down the left side, you'll see the inter-shelter domes. You may not need one now. One of the neat things about the inter-shelter domes, you can buy a 14-footer or a 20-footer or a couple of each and store them in your garage or your barn, whatever outbuilding you may have. You could leave them outside. I wouldn't suggest it because somebody might think they might want to steal it, but store them up for future use, for a vacation home, for a hunting cabin, for a mother-in-law home, whatever it might be. Lock in when you buy one and put it in storage, you lock in the price because it's inevitable that years into the future the price, of course, is going to go up, won't it, Don?
Well, actually, that's a good point, John. Because fiberglass is a petroleum-based product. Right now, they are very inexpensive because oil is so cheap. I think we're down about $45 a barrel or something like that. Just remember,
right.
two years ago, oil was at $140 a barrel. So it would be a great time to buy, actually, because when it goes back up to $140, and it's only going to take one missile from that idiot in North Korea or some other major international event, and it's going to be right back where it was, and then the price is going to have to go up because it's just a simple cost of materials.
Right. Well, and that's just the nature of our society. As the years move forward, there's going to be increased labor cost, increased overhead into the future, and if a person buys one and gets it into inventory now, that price is obviously locked in, and it's not an issue
forever.
anymore, is it? Right, precisely.
It's locked in forever because that's how long it's locked in for at least the next 50 years you're going to use it. Yeah.
Right. Right. So that's another. I talk about energy cleaner procrastinators. Well, we can have procrastinators in a number of areas, but you may be a fairly young man or young woman now, maybe 30, 35 years old, and you may be thinking, well, in the future, maybe I might want to have a vacation home. So why not take the step now and get the basic structure for that vacation home or that hunting cabin? Get it now. Put it in storage, and then when the time comes, you have it, it's paid for, and you're good to go, aren't you, Don?
Yeah. By the way, I got to share a story with you. I got a call, it was just yesterday, from a very nice lady that lives in British Columbia. She has property in British Columbia and also has property in Hyder, and that's where they threw my great-grandfather off on the beach when he was trying to get to know him back in the 1890s.
Uh-huh.
And just near south of Ketchikan. Ketchikan wasn't there yet. And anyway, she's a loyal listener of yours, and she's just a huge fan. And she's probably listening right now. Hello there, in British Columbia. And that's how she tracked me down. And she's not sure, but she thinks she might want one on her British Columbian property. And if she does, I'm going to take excellent care of her. But she sure had some wonderful things to say about you and your show.
Well, I appreciate that. It's it's the nature of radio. I'm sitting here in my home studio talking to 10,000 people, and I can't see any of them.
And, I was a DJ in high school. I know all about that.
Yeah, but we're having my radio show meetup tonight, and I actually get to spend some FaceTime with my listeners. Here's our break. Call number 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
I'm J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 2nd of November. If you didn't listen to Steve Whitman's story the first hour today, you need to. It's a heartwarming story, heartfelt story. It's a story of unbelievable magnitude when it comes to the will to live and endure pain and survive. And it all comes back to the energy cleaner giving him the strength and agility to do what he did that day. Followed up by using the energy cleaner after being shot 3 times with a .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol, twice to the torso, once to the hand. Followed up by his remarkable and rapid healing, with icing on the cake being his wife being cured of lupus because of the energy cleaner as well. Yes, I sell energy cleaners. It's my passion. It's my home business. And you can see energy cleaners for sale at my website, read up on the patent application, check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads, make your purchase there, right there at my website using MasterCard, Visa, PayPal. Or you can call my toll-free order line and make your purchase that way. Here's that toll-free order line. Keep in mind, I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Here's that order line, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. If you got a question or comment about the domes, give us a call. We'd be glad to answer your question. The call number is 800-313-9443. Don, I know you're a busy guy, but Steve's testimony last hour is phenomenal. And what he went through, being shot 3 times with a .45 caliber pistol and not getting to the first hospital for 2 hours, and having 4 bear hunters in Maine coming upon him shot up, stuffing the holes full of paper towels so he wouldn't bleed out completely. It was an amazing, amazing story.
How in the heck did he get shot 3 times in the woods with a .45?
He was on a backhoe at his fish camp doing backhoe work on the access road when a former employee drove up and shot him 3 times, thinking he'd killed Steve, and then committed suicide himself.
Jeez.
I know. What a story. It's I haven't had Steve on in more than a year, but he, as a consequence, I urged Steve to write about his story in Tim Spencer's website, and that led to him writing his first novel, and now I think he's about to have novel number 7 published. The first one, of course, had to do with this incident, winning life's lottery, where he gave me and the energy cleaner personal credit for saving his life.
Hey, can I ask you something about the energy cleaner?
Sure.
Is that something that you take with water? Is it a pill? What is it? I haven't read about it.
Obviously, you have not. It's a electronic healing device about the size of a cigar box, takes 9 D-cell batteries, puts out an electrostatic signal that goes to every cell in your body, flushing out toxins, bringing in fresh nutrition. And it mitigates pain and helps people get a great night's sleep. Cured Steve Whitman's wife of lupus, of all things, and helped Steve have the strength and agility to jump off that tractor. He'd had a back injury just 2 months before and could barely walk before he started using an energy cleaner. He had to crawl back and forth to his truck. It was so bad. So that's a quick synopsis of what the energy cleaner is. It's a healing device.
Okay, I'm looking for it on your website. I don't see a link to it where you can learn about it.
Scroll down the right side, pretty far down, really far down.
Okay.
On the right side.
I got you.
Yeah, and you can see the patent application information and the testimonials there.
Okay.
And
I got it.
Yeah. The photographs, and I'm not sure they're posted yet or not, the photographs with the massive windows in the domes. Now, I got a question for you, Don. These huge windows that were installed in domes, if people want them, does that compromise the strength in any way?
None. Those are made of plexiglass, and it doesn't compromise the structural integrity whatsoever.
And when you were looking at materials, if I may ask, why did you decide for plexiglass as opposed to polycarbonate?
Well, I actually, you could be right. It could be polycarbonate. I'm not the engineering type. All I know is that it's extremely strong and it's as clear as glass. And we found a company that it's very difficult. Those things have to be put into a big oven to produce them. The manufacturing process requires that they be heated in a huge oven, and there's only like 2 of those people in the United States that have ovens big enough. I mean, those panels are 7.5 feet across.
Right.
So there's a lot of square footage of window above those beds, and this was one of the few places we could find. And I to be honest with you, John, I don't know the chemical makeup of that. Well, but all I know is it's as strong as the fiberglass.
It's a nuance, and people don't care as long as it works and performs.
Yeah.
And a follow-up question: there would be no issues with leakage either, would there?
None.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, none.
Well, these are huge windows, and it changes the whole whole persona of these domes. My goodness.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure it'd be for me, but if a person wants that, I mean, God bless them, go for it. You know, it certainly changes everything about the interior and
well, if
exterior.
you have a home with a good view, you know, you're on a mountaintop or something like those domes are. It's a pretty. This is the first time we've ever done it. I've pictured it and thought about it for a long time, but these guys wanted to do it, and by golly, they went out and found the people to make those big clear panels. I'm really glad they did. We've got people calling in from Iceland, from Sweden. You know, watching these northern lights is a pretty big winter tourist market, and you know, we just got the new Cadillac of doing that.
Absolutely. What a view! What an absolute
and it's
view!
It's in an igloo.
Well, your typical view is a flat plane of glass that runs perpendicular to the ground, but this curves up all the way to the peak of the dome, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing.
It sure does.
Amazing. Panoramic. It gives a whole new meaning to the word panoramic. We've got a caller here. We've got Mark in Oregon. Good morning, Mark.
Oh, hello.
Go ahead, sir.
Hi, John. Yeah, I found another map in a movie. I was watching the one that you had the night the world exploded, and right next to it on YouTube they had another movie. It's called The 27th Day.
Right.
It was made.
Well, somebody already sent that. Somebody already sent that to me, and it'll be
that
posted.
was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay. It'll be posted on my website before the day's over.
Okay, I emailed you last night. I don't know if you got that. Okay, well, thanks, John.
I got it. I appreciate the call.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right.
You know, Don, our list of movies and TV shows with continents with new coastlines continues to grow. We found just a couple in the last 2 or 3 days. And,
I've been watching that list grow. And this one that he sent you, he's talking about. Have you seen it yet?
I did. And
what part of the map is he talking about?
Well, it's a map of the lower 48, and you can see it's a Navy map with the East Coast and the Gulf Coast and underwater and an inland sea where the Mississippi River is. And the scene is a newspaper office in Los Angeles, and it's in the background, but you can clearly see that it's a Navy map.
Huh.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that is really something.
Yeah, it was 1957, by the way, is when that film was released. A B-grade science fiction film. But it's there.
Some of the best.
Yeah, well, sometimes. Mark that called in, he said he hadn't watched the whole movie in his email, and I haven't watched the whole movie either. There may be a better shot of it farther into the film. You know, that remains to be seen.
Uh-huh. And how do you capture that when you see that on an old TV show or an old movie? Do you just freeze the frame and then take a picture of it with your phone, or how do you do it?
You freeze frame it and then hit save on your computer.
Oh, on the computer. Oh, watching the movie on the computer. I see. Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
It's called a screen capture. Yeah. That's how it's done. I don't do it frequently enough to be very good at it, but I have done it.
Uh-huh.
It's a fun project, and it's really we're just starting the 11th month yesterday. And it's a project. But Don, your domes you have inventory. Is everything that we have listed at my website, is everything in inventory and ready for immediate shipment?
Yes. Well, yes, it is right now. If anybody's interested in a 20-footer, though, they're going to have to move fairly fast because there are about 10 of them available right now. But as soon as the Kwajalein project goes into full production, those 10 are going to be sucked into that total number. So production capability for the 20 is going to be maxed out for about 3 to 4 weeks. That's assuming that one of my other facilities isn't fired up immediately because of this call that's happening today with FEMA. So, Yeah, we do have domes on the shelves, both 14 and 20s, and
and windows and doors and all
we've got everything. The whole kit comes ready to put up. You got the hardware, you got the nylon Zytel washers that go underneath the bolt on the outside that makes the holes waterproof. You got the stainless steel washer on the inside, and of course the stainless hardware, the nut and the bolt. You've got a gasket that goes around the flange on the bottom, so when you bolt it down to your pad, it's totally watertight. Everything that you need to put it up comes with it, except the screwdriver, the wrench, and the ladders, and the 6-pack of beer. You got to get that yourself.
Well, absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when we mention stainless steel, it's not just a matter of the stainless steel hardware not rusting. It's also a matter of not having brown streaks from rust streaming down the side of your structure, right, Don?
Absolutely. That's really ugly, by the way.
Oh, it is. It is, unless you've got some bizarre thought about what modern art is. Yes, it's ugly. And it's not an issue because the hardware is stainless steel, and it also means that 10, 15, 20 years in the future, you want to take it apart. It's just like taking apart a brand new nut and bolt because it is stainless steel. There's no rust, right, Don?
That's right. Yeah, and forever. I've coined a term for these bloody things, and I call them land yachts because that's basically what they are. It's like having a yacht on the beach because it's made of the same materials as those $1 million yachts floating around out in the bay in front of San Francisco or Los Angeles or Miami. Those yachts will never rust, and they will be there a long time from now.
That's good to know. That's some reassurance there.
Hey, by the way, John, it just dawned on me. I'm going to send this to you right now. You've talked in the past about just the amount of regulations and tests and regulations that you have to pass to be able to sell to the military.
Right.
I'm going to send you just a few of them that in this last contract for the Army Corps of Engineers. This is a list of some of the qualifications we had to meet to be able to be used by them. I'm going to send this to you right now. You're going to be stunned, although you're probably used to this.
Well,
it's amazing. It's coming at you right now.
One of my first jobs as a paralegal was to maintain the brand new OSHA regulations in 3-ring binders, and this was 1972, and they were just getting started. But even from the get-go, they had hundreds and hundreds of pages. It was amazing.
Yeah. And by the way, we've been endorsed by OSHA for any kind of construction camp out there. I have a letter with OSHA letterhead saying that we've got their blessing to be used for anything from construction camps to mining camps to any kind of man camp that OSHA oversees. So we've also passed those rigorous tests.
All right. Well, I'm looking at an image you sent a few minutes ago, not the one you just sent, but it looks like a dome made into 2 workspaces. And let's see.
Yeah. Now, what those are, John? That's the design for the Kwajalein Corps of Engineers camp.
Okay.
That's what the layout's going to look like. It's got the whole pod of domes in one design there, and then it's got a close up of what an individual one will look like.
Yeah, and I got the list of implementation standards here. It's and of course some of these references go to books that could be hundreds of pages in and of themselves, each one, right?
Oh yeah. Well, luckily I found a team, both DynCorp and this Northcott, this equivalent of DynCorp British operation, that are used to dealing with militaryese, and it's a different language.
It is.
And you have to have a building full of architects, engineers, and lawyers, and they all have to be retired colonels. otherwise you don't read that stuff. You just can't.
Right. Well, if you spent several decades reading it, it's just second nature to you. It's complex and it's convoluted, but you've jumped through all those hoops, you've met all the specifications, and that should give people some peace of mind knowing that when they're buying a shelter, that they've got something that has passed the most stringent design engineering specifications that human beings can think up, right?
The Army Corps of Engineers is pretty much a gold standard. That's what it is.
Exactly. Well, it's peace of mind to know that what you're buying has been thoroughly tested, left, right, up, down, back and forth, to make sure that these domes will perform decades into the future. We know they'll last half a century, but beyond that, they probably will go on performing because there's no deterioration after half a century as they're done.
That's right. Every one that's ever been made is still in use, and we've only ever had one building that was damaged that had to be repaired. And you were talking earlier about one of your pet peeves is drunk drivers.
Right.
One of my sales reps is a renewable energy store up in Anchorage.
Let's finish the story after the break, Don.
Yeah.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 2nd of November. Don, let's get back to your story.
Yes, sir. Oh, well, let me see. Where was I? What story was that, John?
Well, you had a follow-up on drunk driving and domes.
Oh, yeah. One of your pet peeves is drunk drivers. Me too. I had a sales rep up in Anchorage that had one of my 20-footers sitting out in front of his store right on Arctic Boulevard up there in downtown Anchorage. And this drunk guy was driving a pizza truck and drove it right into his dome. He was not happy with him. The good news is that even though he drove into the dome in this big truck, it only damaged four panels. And that's one of the beauties of the dome. If something like this should happen, like a tree fall on you or some catastrophic thing hit you, I just shipped him up 4 panels. He strapped them on, and it was like new.
That's amazing. We had a caller on hold here, Dan in Missouri. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Dan, the Missouri man.
Right.
Yeah.
Dome Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
I had a couple of questions. You said a screwdriver. So does that mean that the head of the bolt has got a slot in it, or is it a hex head?
It's both.
Both? So what kind of screwdriver, Phillips or flat?
No, just a regular screwdriver.
Regular screwdriver. Okay, yep. And one other question.
But you're right. It also has a hex head on it, so you could really do it with two socket wrenches, and you're done.
There you go. And the panels that go on the floor, that bolt to the floor, is there a ledge bolt molded to the bottom edge of that panel that would turn inward?
What there is, Dan, on the outside of the dome, there's an 1.5-inch flange made. It's molded into the bottom panels.
It
made
turns
of the same
to the
material.
outside.
It turns to the outside, and it comes with a gasket that is the same width as that. That's an inch-thick black rubber gasket that adheres to the bottom of the flange. And
Gotcha.
you put three leg screws and washers through each of the 10 panels that comprise the lower level. You bolt that down to your pad, and you're watertight at the bottom. And that dome is as strong as the pad you put it on. You put it on concrete, it's a 220-mile-an-hour building.
So if you went into concrete, you'd use some kind of an anchor?
You just, well, they've got special
you drill
bolts,
it, right?
And you drill a hole, and then they've got special bolts that go into concrete.
Oh yeah, I'm aware of that. All right, and then there's just a washer, or do you have a plate that goes along top of that ledge?
No, just a washer, 1.25 inch washer.
Washer's all you need. Okay.
Yeah, you put 3 of those leg screws on each of the 10 bottom panels, and that thing ain't going anywhere. I've seen, honestly, Dan, I think I've told John this story before. Many years ago, we did a show for the National Guard, the Oregon National Guard, and I've got a letter from them begging FEMA to stockpile them in Oregon as a result of this show. And it was in Seaside, Oregon, and the convention center where they held this big powwow was right across the street from the beach. I mean, wide open. And, well, we were busy that day setting up both a 20-footer outside and a 14-footer inside. And by the way, we got Best New Military Product of the Show award at that one. But anyway, that night, this huge storm rolled in off the ocean. It was in March. And I didn't know it was coming. Nobody told me. It blew 99 miles an hour that night. And I was staying in a hotel on the beach. The waves hitting the beach in front of my hotel were even with my deck out in front of my room, and I was on the 3rd floor. And so I laid there all night listening to this thing. I couldn't sleep. I figured, because we'd set this 20-foot dome up out in a parking lot, and we didn't anchor it down or anything. It was just sitting there. And I thought, oh my God, this thing's going to be in the next this thing's going to be in the next county. And so about 4 o'clock, I said, geez, I'm not going to sleep anyway.
John, we're out of time, sir. We're out of time.
Yeah, I walked down there. That dome had not moved an inch all night long. 99 miles an hour, no anchor whatsoever.
Amazing.
Don, thank you. Dan, thanks for the call. Okay, guys, that's it for the day. Get your medical supplies, energy, cleaning, essential oils now while you can. Your firearms, ammunition. Never, ever give up your gun. Please do have a fun, safe, productive day. And God bless America.